Good afternoon, good morning in some cases. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm very excited to deliver this program to you. And I want to thank Jason, who's joining me in the background, helping to set this up, and Christina, our program manager, who's part of this program as well. And thank you for your time, taking time out of a busy day, especially in the summer, so appreciate it. We've got about 35 folks that have signed up for today, which is wonderful. Many of you are joining me live. I know that you're going to be looking at this in post through a video we'll send out to everybody. Some of you are watching this for the first time in video format. Any questions, throw them in the Q&A. Be delighted to hear from you. And hopefully we'll answer most or all of your questions through the actual presentation, but open to listening to any questions at the end for sure. So here we start, and we want to talk, of course, about our land acknowledgement. And let me just say, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. And while we meet today on a virtual platform, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. Please join me in a moment of reflection to acknowledge the effect of residential schools and colonialism on Indigenous families and communities, and to consider how we are and can each, in our own way, try to move forward in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. Welcome to the Queen's University Smith School of Business, to this program. And this program is the Certificate in Professional Impact Analysis. And very excited to share this brief and quick trip overview to you. Our next class starts January 12th. The second cohort that we've started is in right now, July to December. We had our first program January to June, I was also in the program. It was a wonderful success. And again, a great program that I'd be delighted to talk to you about and answer any questions as we're going through this. So do throw anything that you've got into the Q&A. But our next class starts January 12th. You're not too early in looking at this, considering this, signing up for it. We've got about 5 people that have already signed up for January. We'll probably have about 25 as our plan, a small group, intentionally small. And we're going to have coaches and faculty that'll be very accessible as part of that. So January 12th is the next start date when we release the next lecture, and I'll talk more about that as we get into the rhythm and flow of the program. My name is Glenn Hollis, and again, I've been a director on this program since we brought it over to the business school. Formerly, I was running the Accelerated MBA program, and this program is part of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact at the Smith School of Business at Queen's. So this program, step back a little bit and think about this. This is the only program that measures good. So what does good mean? And we're going to talk a lot about that because it means different things to different people. We have people that are a wonderful mix of for-profit, not-for-profit, government on all 3 levels, NGOs, different communities, programs, etc. And we look at good in a number of different ways. So what's the story here? We want to think about this in terms of great brands, great organizations, great companies. They usually have a greater sense of purpose. They understand what they sell. They understand, how they sell it, but they really have a true understanding of why they sell it, why they run an organization, why they take part in these particular government programs, whatever it might be. And they've got leaders that care about people, planet, and communities. And these leaders, in turn, put their money behind great brands, great organizations, and they invest in impact programs, projects that measure and deliver good. And organizations that do that generally are more successful on a number of different levels. Greater sense of community, they have greater appeal and stickiness to their employees. If they're for-profit, they've got greater customers that want to stay with them. And plain and simple, this idea of doing good and doing more good is something that will contribute to an organization's success and ultimately and intentionally to the success of the world. So our mission is very specific, very simple. We want to enable leaders like you to measure good, The more you can measure something, the more you can do more of it. Or in some cases, you may decide it's not the right thing to do and you want to do less of it. But measuring good allows you to do more good. Focus energy, effort, money in the right place so that you're doing more good. So what are impact projects? They run the continuum of different things for different organizations. There are things that are community and societal betterment projects. Think of CIBC's Run for the Cure, Tim Hortons Children's Foundation, municipal, provincial, federal governments that run projects, might be NGOs like World Vision that feed the children, putting in new roads or access to a particular program, or it might be business for good programs or projects. And here you can think about one of our students that we had in the Accelerated MBA was a senior executive at Ocean Steel, and he had his customers asking for green steel. We want to buy steel from you. We want to build projects, but we want to buy steel from you that has a smaller impact on the carbon footprint. Or it might be things like Suncor that put windshield washer refill stations instead of having lots of plastic. So there's a number of different things, and we'll talk about it as we get into some of the cases about things that are projects for good or impact projects. And ultimately, it comes down to how do you measure them? How do you measure these good investments, these projects? And the big question is, can you measure good? And organizations are wonderful, as you know, at measuring all kinds of things: productivity, customer sat, financial performance. But few really understand how to measure their societal or environmental or wider economic impact. And, they don't have the same rigor or discipline. So a lot of times we think we're doing good, or we think the project is doing good, or we're doing well with a particular business initiative, but is it doing good? And the reality is you can do both well and good. They're not mutually exclusive. And in fact, they're good for each other and good for the world. So you can measure these things. We're going to talk about a program that has best practices, tools, methods, techniques, approaches that can measure cost-benefit analysis, measure good. The good news further is that this is a growing field. There's more and more desire, scrutiny, and request for measuring impact projects. And it's important to do that because we see this growing demand among stakeholders. So if we're going to do a project, are we getting bang out of it? Is it delivering what we envisioned? Are we getting value when we think about putting our limited dollars in a particular space? And you've got community, you've got shareholders, you've got suppliers, you've got customers, you've got employees, etc. A number of different stakeholders that are interested in understanding, are we delivering the mail? Are we doing what we plan to do? So we bring forward a program that measures that good, measures those impact projects. And increasingly, there's more and more senior leadership roles in that space. And we'll talk about that. So we're always great at measuring things. Financial accounting and management, you're measuring things ultimately for compliance or reporting. But critically, you're measuring things to make better decisions. And that same rigor and discipline and evidence-based approach is exactly what we're talking about with the CPIA, this program that we're putting into place. And it's that rigor and transparency that empowers people to make better decisions. So business leaders like you are interested in understanding, are we actually getting what we envisioned out of a particular impact? So the professional impact analysis program does that. And there's 3 different modules, and I'll go into some more detail. But at a high level, it's about impact foundations, defining the impact of organizations, impact accounting, looking at cost benefit analysis, quantifying your footprint. Don't worry, it isn't math. And then looking at evaluating and learning, reporting, managing, and adapting. How do you shift and evolve a particular program or the way you measure it such that you're measuring it in the most impact and accurate of ways? So let's talk a little bit about content and delivery. And again, any questions you've got, throw them in the Q&A and be happy to answer those as we're going through this. So we've got 3 modules. All of the modules are intentionally designed to be super flexible. They're all online in recorded lectures. And then there is a virtual but live full day capstone session at the end of the modules. So you've got 4 weeks of module or 4 weeks of lectures and then that capstone. And then there's 3 modules that go through the program. Each of the modules is about 20 hours, 4 3-hour lectures, kind of broken up into very digestible lecture formats. And at the end of each module, there's a mini quiz, a mini assignment, and the intent of that is to be able to prepare you for the capstone. The capstone is really a delightful day where you gather with the faculty, gather with coaches, and gather with each other virtually, and you go through cases and really bring to life and anchor what you've learned through the content in that last module. And there is an accessible opportunity for you to speak live with professors. Each of the professors holds a weekly session, drop in, nothing formal. They'll answer questions, talk about content, bring up different aspects and elements, extensions of what you may have learned, and really just, answer questions that have relevance for you within your particular world, industry, organization. And at the end of each of these 3 modules, or at the end of the 3 modules rather, there's a final exam, which is based on the content, and that is done virtually as well. So designed to be very flexible, very accessible for working individuals that we know have busy lives and busy work. Program cost, the 3 modules, the total is $7,500 plus tax. There is a CRA T2202 form that's given, tax deductible. It's $2,500 per module if you break up that $7,500. That includes everything: program, materials, coaching, credentials, certification, etc. You don't need to pay all at once. You can pay that $7,500 over the 6 months. There are discounts available for bringing 3 or more of your organization, which we've got a number of those in each of the cohorts that we've put together. And that's $2,000 off per student. So pretty significant when you bring 3 or more from your organization. We do have First Nations or Indigenous scholarships as well that are available. And this is intentionally flexible. The modules are beautifully spaced out or put together, the flow of them over the 6 months, so that you've got downtime in between. You've got a chance to review, re-review, look back at the lectures. And again, the full certification is available at the conclusion through an exam that's part of the cost in the program as well. So flexible, intentionally accessible, and again, for busy working individuals like yourself, and leaders that are building their career credentials. The program leadership by the faculty is pretty impressive. We've got 3 professors that are part of this. Dr. Bauman Kashi and Dr. Chris Cotton started this in the economics department. They're 2 economics professors. And we worked with Elspeth, Dr. Elspeth Murray, who's in the business school and runs the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact. And she has worked with the professors to put together the latest offering, which looks at for-profit, not-for-profit, all different organizations, and brings it home with respect to measuring impact, measuring good. And each of these professors is very accessible and is part of the program. The program themselves, the first module is called Impact Foundations, and that's really to give you a sense of overview of the concepts of impact. What are we thinking about, and what is it as a definition in different organizations, different companies? And this includes a toolbox where you'll be able to bring it to life and apply it, and examples and case studies that are part of this. And again, 4 lectures, mini quizzes after each of the lectures, mini assignments, and then a capstone that brings to life all of this. The second module, similar format in terms of lectures and cases, is really impact accounting, looking at the certificate and professional impact analysis toolbox, how to track decision criteria, cost benefit analysis, really understanding through cases and assignments, how do you measure impact? How do we really look at this cost benefit analysis and bring it to life? And again, I took the program. I'm not a mathematician by any stretch, and it was very accessible and understandable and helpful when it came to providing those templates and tools. The third module, and again, same format, 4 lectures, mini quizzes, mini assignments, a capstone, looks at evaluating and learning. And this is really mastering the impact evaluation, measuring, looking at effectiveness of current and future activities. and bringing it to life through templates and tools in a toolbox, through cases, and through learning content. And the flow of this is intentional in that each builds on the other. And the program itself is very easily understood, and it provides leaders with the right kind of understanding of measuring impact. Let me just give a few examples of some of the impact cases that you may think of. And again, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, is this applicable to my world? I'm sitting in government, or I'm sitting in for-profit. I'm in consumer packaged goods. I'm in the resource sector. I'm in banking. I'm with an NGO, a World Vision kind of organization. All of it is applicable. And the idea of measuring impact is important to all of those organizations, and even Business for Good projects. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Coca-Cola switching to social plastic, recycled plastic from developing countries. So the measure and the questions are, is it socially justifiable? How can we put together a cost-benefit analysis that looks at financial viability, feasibility when it comes to scale? And those are the kind of things that you'll look at and consider when it comes to cases. RBC, they wanted to get a deeper, more robust reporting on their social return when it comes to some of their investment portfolios, ESG stocks or stock portfolios. Is it defensible? And what additional data is necessary to provide a real empirical evidence-based measure of this being something where we're moving the needle in terms of environment or social or governance? Tourmaline Oil Corp, they were looking at switching to natural gas powered production machinery. And again, wanting to be able to look at this from a business lens as well as a good for the planet lens, both, a balance of those. What's the impact on greenhouse gas emissions? And what is the net financial impact when it comes to economic return? Are we going to move this to a place where it's going to be viable and in fact beneficial for the company, but critically good for the planet? And that's that balance, that forward thinking, sort of top level brands, organizations that are really putting that measure of lens, or that lens on that impact. The World Health Organization advocating for investments in food safety. How do we measure improvements, in different parts of the world? What does it cost? And is there a value of benefits with respect to health and trade? And again, the World Health Organization, as part of the International Finance Corp, wanted to understand this. And really, it's about taking limited dollars and putting them in places where they're going to get the most impact, the biggest bang, and being able to provide that feedback, the measure of that, to their stakeholders. Tim Hortons Children's Foundation. I used to work for Tim's, and again, part of my role was to work with the Tim Hortons Children's Foundation with respect to decision making. So measuring impact, do we invest more in another children's camp in addition to the 6 we've got in Canada, the 1 in the US? Do we draw in terms of the funding for that from franchisee rent royalty, and advertising? Or do we ask our customers for the funding for that through things like Camp Day? Or do we switch gears and say, no, we think we're going to get more impact when we look at other programs and projects that we've got, Timbits Hockey, Smile Cookie, other programs that would be more applicable or viable when it comes to providing impact. And those are the kind of measures. Then there's another lens for Tim's as well. This is from a corporate standpoint. Do we sell fair trade coffee, or do we invest in a proprietary coffee partnership program? It costs farmers money down in Brazil, small hectare farmers, to be able to be a part of fair trade coffee. Or do we provide them the tools, the investment, the techniques to improve their coffee yield, their coffee quality? Ultimately, we benefit from it, but can we also help them from a farming standpoint, but from a community standpoint as well? And other ways we look at the lens of Tim Hortons Corp, fair hiring practices, measuring the impact of those with DEI, or sustainable distribution for the fleet of transportation trucks that crisscross the countries when we think of Canada and the US. So these are the kind of programs. And I mentioned one of our students works for Ocean Steel, and they had lots of desire from their clients, their customers, for green steel. Never had invested in it before. It was traditional steel production. And they wanted to understand, really two things, really three things. Is it going to be good for us? Are we going to make money from it? Sure, there's a desire. Can we produce it efficiently? Is it going to be good for the world? Are we reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, the carbon footprint that we create when we build this green steel? And really, the third lens, is it going to do both? And these are the kind of things that you look at and consider when you measure impact, and why it's such a burgeoning career field. So who should attend this? Well, you, leaders of today and tomorrow who want to make a difference. We're seeing more and more an increasing number of roles within this Chief Impact Officer. We had one of our speakers who joined us for a networking session, which is an important element, networking among the students, but also networking among the faculty and among industry leaders. Louise Kent joined us, and she's the Chief Impact Officer from Mighty Hum. She talked about her journey when it came to her academic journey, her career journey. How did she find herself in the chair of Chief Impact Officer? And what were her different thoughts and approaches to measuring impact? So those are the kind of things that will be part of the program, networking, where you can start to build up this career path for sure. So as Dr. Kashi says, the Chief Impact Officers of tomorrow will need the foundational knowledge to choose the most relevant frameworks and methods to define, to measure, manage, monitor, and evaluate impact, and critically delivering this knowledge to stakeholders. That's an important piece of it. That's not an afterthought. This idea of telling a good story. It's one thing to have good intentions, but to be able to tell the story and clearly define and articulate to stakeholders in an impactful way, here's how we're moving the needle. Here's how we're measuring impact. And here's why we think we should do more of it, continue with it. And that's really, really important when you think about leadership and that lens. So we're coming to the end of this, and again, mindful and respectful of your time. And throw any questions you've got into the chat, or if you're listening to this in post, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll have my number up as well as or my email contact up. Feel free to reach out to me. Go to the website, look into this. We've got a pretty detailed and robust website that provides great information, and that you can simply Google CPIA, Queen's University, or Smith, and CPIA will allow you to get into and understand more about this, and also apply. You can throw in your application, and we'd love to have you for sure. But again, please feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer any questions. We've had a number of questions that we've fielded before. We think we've answered everything within the presentation. One of the questions we get, of course, is this mathy? And I just want to provide this. This is from your other professor, Dr. Chris Cotton. So there is a cost-benefit analysis approach to this. There are a few spreadsheets in the second module, but the classes are not about math. It's about knowing really and understanding, comfortable with economics and math, as Dr. Cotton says. If you're not comfortable with economics and math, you're going to leave comfortable. You're going to leave comfortable thinking, about numbers and analysis as it relates to impact measurement. And that's why the cases and the mini assignments, and the mini quizzes really bring it to life to understand, how are we going to be able to measure the things, the programs, the projects that we're doing in a way that really provides the right kind of understanding of doing more of it, do less of it, stop doing it, etc. Measuring good so you can do more good, and that's really what we're about here. So I'll open it up if there's any questions. I think we might have one. Let's just see. Who are the sponsors of this program? It really is sponsored by the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact. That's the folks that are running this program as part of the Queen's Business School. They've got a number of different organizations that they're affiliated with at the business school. It's also underpinned and supported by the economics department at Queen's University. It is very much an academic program. This is a certificate program that is an academic program from Queen's University, from the Smith Business School. And we've got a number of folks that attend from different organizations, whether it's for-profit or not-for-profit. So it's not sponsored by anybody. We do have funding that's provided through the business school as part of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact. But again, pretty excited about this program for sure. So if I don't see any other questions, and again, I'd be delighted to answer anything as we're finishing off this, but please feel free to reach out to me. I'll leave my number again, so you've got that, or my email address. Please reach out to me. Happy to answer any questions. And again, if you're more comfortable asking me, one-on-one, no problem. Absolutely. Connecting you with an existing student, connecting you with the professors, talking more about the program. But do go on the website, take a look. We'd love to have you. It's not too early to apply for. You don't need to pay for anything until we get into January, but you can certainly apply and sign up for the program for January, and we'd love to have you. Thank you to Jason in the background, to Christina in the background as well, and thank you to everybody that's joined me today. Thank you if you're listening to this in post, and I'd be delighted to answer any questions, and we'd love to have you in the program. Thanks to all.